Okay, so we found the core video. Somebody asked me to look at this. Just Stop apparently called out Ellis Mark and Veronica and Jelly. These names are just incredible. Dangers in dating and manipulation and loathing. Oh, guys, I've never been in a relationship before, so I don't really get anything. Let's do it, baby.
Have you ever been put into a situation where you weren't quite sure whether or not you should reveal a piece of information, fearing the consequences, but then it just kept getting worse?
Well, no, because I'm a grown man that understands boundaries, right? So, like, if I see something where there's two people that are together and they're very toxic together, it's none of my business unless somebody's getting hurt. That's it. That is what it boils down to. Not everybody acts perfectly. That's life, and it's none of my business. It's just none of my business unless somebody's getting hurt. Like, I'm a grown man. I'm an adult. How old's this kid? 18?
To the point you couldn't keep your mouth shut any longer? Yeah, that's basically the current situation. And
So funny, like, we all talk about how sensitive people are on the internet, and, like, this is the sensitive, okay?
I'm not going to waste your time beating around the bush. This script's been rewritten too many times for me to ease you in slowly, so here we go. Ellis Mark is a 20-year-old Irish cartoon reviewer who,
there you go, he's Irish. Sorry, I'm not going to be eating that much longer. He's Irish. There it is. He's guilty.
2020, according to him, has been friends with a 28-year-old American former Oni Plays collaborator. 2020, according to him, has been friends with a 28-year-old American former Oni Plays collaborator, Veronica Gilardo, whom he currently runs a podcast with when she isn't working on Twitch or an NSFW Patreon.
I feel like you're trying to morally load that by saying that it's an NSFW like Patreon to try to make it seem like she's a bad person. Okay.
That's all information you may have already been made aware of had you followed one or the other on social media. What you probably don't know is that, again, according to Mark, the two have been dating for around a year, and since autumn of 2022, the duo have been married, which could lead you to ask me, Braxton, why should I care? What's the point?
Wait, how old is he? Is she 28 and he's like 20? Okay. Usually you see the opposite, but okay. Is that what I'm getting that right?
Point in bringing that up. And well, to put it bluntly, I tried handling what I'm about to discuss with Mark privately, but discovered there have been several others who've done the same, yet he seemingly has just brushed them off.
Excuse me. There better be something really good here for you to be bringing up to another man about his marriage. Like, you just don't do that.
It's not him who's done anything worthy of call-out, though. It's Veronica and the group she's created around him who are at fault. And what might those actions include, you may ask? Well, how about a relationship that's been kept secret from the public involving lies, dumping and getting back together in short bursts, cheating, alienation from friends, shit-talking, the loss of opportunities to be friends with others, manipulation, forced dependency, and more. But that's
okay. A lot of buzzwords.
A lot of bombshells to explain all at once. So to keep it all organized in this video, I'm going to set up a basic timeline of events based on the testimony and evidence of several people I've interviewed or researched into, which, if stated as much, were later confirmed by Mark himself. And it all goes back to Christmas Day of 2021, when Daft Pina and Crowy, two friends of Mark, wanted to talk to him about Veronica. Or rather, more specifically, they brought him into a Discord call on the night of, where they warned about the duo of Veronica and another former Oni Plays collaborator, Sunny TM, due to a series of behaviors they perceived as toxic, but we'll go further on that when the time comes. All you need to know for now is that, in this particular instance,
so, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to a friend and saying, hey, you know, I've noticed like this behavior. I don't think your partner treats you well, whatever. Nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you get to take to the internet and expose somebody for stuff like this.
Mark would brush off the two's concerns, believing it to be unfounded. So Crowy and Daft dropped the subject and chose to avoid the duo regardless, whether or not they could convince Mark to do the same. But what Daft and Crowy weren't aware of at the time was that Mark and Veronica had already begun dating, and during the period surrounding the check-in, Mark had already been dumped after 3 or so months together. You see, Veronica had switched over right after leaving him to dating another creator who wants to remain anonymous, which has been confirmed by both the creator and Mark themselves. But what really makes this stand out in the timeline isn't just that it happened, it's that the switch only lasted a month before Veronica dumped the other creator and asked Mark to take her back, which he happily did, as he was supposedly, according to friends around him at the time, in a drunken stupor, randomly just breaking down crying during the breakup.
So, okay, they were together for a while, they broke up, she went off with another guy, he was sad, they got back together. Now, personally, I think that when somebody breaks up, I mean, there's a reason you broke up the first time. Check it out. Who cares what I think? This is a private matter, and no one's gotten hurt. Whatever. Who cares? Maybe he's simping a little too hard. You know, maybe he needs to, maybe, I mean, I don't know. It just sounds like she went off with some other guy. When it didn't work out, she had somebody to go back to. But that doesn't warrant a YouTube commentary video. That's just like, all right, man, it's your life.
Though that's not to say they were completely separated during the period, as Mark actually used the recording booth of the other creator during their time split up. Yes, really, no exaggeration. Originally, I wasn't too sure if this was the case, as Mark claimed it lasted from 2 to 3 weeks between December and January, but thanks to Smokey, who I'll bring up again later on, I was able to find the exact times Veronica left and came back to Mark, which also shows when she was dating the other creator. For evidence on when it started, in a DM with the other creator right after the dumping happened, Smokey mentions her knowledge of the situation on November 27th, and in a DM to another friend on January 4th, she tells a mutual that V and the other creator broke up, which said
Who cares?
creator was willing to confirm was true. And when was Mark's Family Guy video released? December 18th, right in the middle of the breakup. He literally used the recording studio of the person his girlfriend dumped him for, and there are pics.
Okay, maybe they had a professional relationship, or maybe he's a simp. Either way, who cares? Oh, they're creators. Maybe they just had a professional relationship and he let them use his studio or whatever.
Pictures of them hanging out IRL that are dated after the breakup happened. Closely at that, too. I'm talking just over a week. But why would he do that? My best guess?
Because his job is to make content.
A need for dependency. In the short time they'd been together, he became so emotionally attached to the whole
Bro, I want to use pro gamer words on you right now. Bro, he's a guy that he has a job to do. If anything, that's incredibly mature. He's like, yeah, maybe he usually uses that studio or whatever to record, and he needs to keep doing it, and so they keep their business relationship copacetic. That's it. That's the most logical explanation.
Thing, he pretty much spent a month waiting and hoping she'd come back to him. And to add even more insult to injury, the creator stated that during a Christmas party he went to with Veronica's family, they were also weirded out by her dating someone so much younger than her, supposedly called.
Okay, yeah, who cares? That's her business. Like, you could say it's a little weird, which I do think it's a little weird, but weird doesn't mean anything. What he's like 20 and she's like 28, whatever. I mean, 28-year-old guys date 20-year-old girls. We don't have no thoughts about that. You could say it's weird because it's one thing because somebody mentioned that they have like a friend that's like 31 and their girlfriend or wife is 39. I feel like once you hit like that late 20s to 30, like early 30s area, you kind of just like, it's different. You know, you're kind of like pretty much as mature as you're going to be for the most part. You're going to go through more life experience, of course, but you know, you're at your peak, I think, at like, you know, like late 20s, like 30, early 30s. You kind of peak. You should, for the most part. He's a young guy, but he's legal. Who cares? Like, and he wants to date her. Nobody's holding a gun to her head. I mean, like, or his head. Who cares?
Calling Mark an autistic child and being thankful that she was now with a real man. Also, according to the creator, Veronica shit-talked Mark while they were apart, saying he was untalented, couldn't draw, and that his personal pilot project wouldn't go anywhere.
Was it? If it sounds like she did that privately, which is shitty, but again, who cares?
Of course, this is stuff that can't be substantiated, so it should be taken with a grain of salt.
So it can't be substantiated, which means it doesn't matter. It was never public. Who cares? You know, people talk shit after they break up all the time.
But the creator has no reason to lie, and they've given a heap of evidence all the way, so I have reason to trust them. Though it should also be noted that when I, Daft, and Crory relayed this information to him in a call that I'll discuss later, he said he didn't want to hear what specifically it was that she said, meaning...
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay, let me tell you something. I'm in a marriage with my wife. And my wife vents to like her brother and her mom probably about some things I do. Nothing bad. And I vent to my mother about some things my wife does. They doesn't matter. It's like a nothing. I don't want to know what my wife's venting about because she's an adult that can come to me and say, hey, and she'll communicate it in a way that's not about venting. Right. So like, let's say she's tired of me pissing on the toilet seat. She better get used to it. No, you know, sometimes you wake up and it's night. You know, you wake up at night and you're just like, where's it going? You can't aim. Okay. Maybe my wife vents to my mother-in-law about that. But when she talks to me about it, she's like, oh, baby, can you? There you go. And I do it. You know, I just can't see this. I mean, it's dark. Can't see it. You know? Right? This is just maturity and venting in relationships. Like this person, who is this person? Do you not like understand the basics of the world? Like this isn't unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
He was willing to ignore what she may truly feel about him, possibly to protect an image of her he's created in his head. But as stated,
or maybe he just doesn't want to intrude on like her private venting.
They got back together after a month. Why Veronica left Mark so she could immediately go to the creator, still hanging around and supposedly shit-talking him, before then deciding to return to Mark of her own accord is up to interpretation. I surely don't know. Whether it was a spur-of-the-moment decision showing she didn't value Mark as a partner, or it was a calculated move to show she holds the power.
You want to fuck Mark? Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so obsessed with this relationship? You're a fucking weirdo, bro.
And the relationship is what I personally believe, but that's not even close to where the bad shit ends. Doing a quick leap forward in the timeline here for clarity, after Twitter user and former friend of Veronica, Smoke the Show, aka Smokey, created a call-out post of her on November 15th, which tipped me and several others off to the situation in the first place.
Oh, well, Veronica, you're an idiot too. Whatever her name is. Veronica Jelly. That person who leaked that. You're also a moron. This is personal relationships. You don't need to take part in it. You guys are so weird.
He also stated in a follow-up tweet the next day, quote, "As to what you're referring to specifically with her husband, I was the one who informed him of what she did when she did it February 26th of this year. But what happened on that date exactly? Well, Mark was cheated on. However, he didn't figure out as much until days later.
Well, that sucks, but that's between him and her. I don't care.
Can be indicated by the fact that on the same day it happened, Mark released a video on Camp Coral, which Veronica did thumbnail art and he explicitly thanked her for. So it should probably be evident he didn't know then. And they also interacted amicably on the 28th of February as well. I'm not entirely sure by which means he did eventually figure out that the event had happened, but whenever he did...
Was it cheating or did they break up?
On March 6th, Mark would go on to tell Smokey about his situation in DMs.
Okay. Ew, so gross.
They figure out that the event had happened, but whenever he did, on March 6th...
Bro, like, this is, like, the number one thing people really got to get through their heads. Like, stop leaking DMs, private DMs, unless something illegal happened. Like, stop. It's so weird. She cheated. Holy fuck, I'm sorry. Don't be, I just wanted to answer, and I'm glad I have gotten it. I'm not in any kind of mess over it. I said I ended things a few days ago, so I'm just emotionally distanced from the whole thing. Okay, yeah, that sucks. It sounds like cheating is a shitty thing for somebody to do to somebody, but, like, it's none of your business. Why did you need to release this?
Mark would go on to tell Smokey about his situation in DMs. Hey, Editing Braxton here for some added clarity. The DMs between Mark and Smokey I'm about to show you indicate that she was surprised by Veronica cheating, despite saying she told Mark earlier on in that reply. This is because Smokey was informed it may have happened by a friend a week after...
Do we even need to read this? This is just so dumb. Can I ask you something? Is she still dating that guy, Mark? After I sent one of the best friends and Mark reached out to me basically confirming I'm right. Mark on the brink of breaking up with her because she's still flip-flopping, but being indecisive, selfish, not knowing what she wants. They're on the we need time breakup. Asking because she was over at blank and blah, blah, blah. So was this cheating or she just like slept with the guy on break? I just move on. There's nothing here.
After the event occurred, while they were talking about the couple's codependency issues, funnily enough, Smokey didn't know...
What couples codependency issues? I mean, like, I don't even know. You don't think you know what words mean or how the world interacts? If they're like, what? He's... Oh my God. Because codependency isn't... Okay, give me a second. He's trying to see if he's actually going to break cycles and work on himself, blah, 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 even if one's night stand, my friend, and I don't think it's okay to mess with his feelings like this. All right, so listen, codependency, I guess when you say that, usually refers to like a toxic level of it, I guess, but if you're not a level of codependent to your partner, you're in a failure of a relationship. Is an emotional and behavioral condition that affects an individual's ability to have a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship. Okay. So the problem is that this person has been exaggerating everything. So codependency, which is toxic, it could really just be the two of them like to be together. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually codependent. Because if you don't have a level of dependency on your partner, like if you can be without your partner for 6 months, you know, shit like that, like obviously there has to be a level of dependency or else your relationship isn't healthy enough. Like you need to love each other and miss each other. You know what I mean? If it goes to codependency, it's most likely just buzzwording.
Happened by a friend a week after the event occurred while they were talking about the couple's codependency issues, funnily enough. Smokey didn't know for sure at the time, so she relayed the info to Sonny, as he was closer with Mark, who presumably relayed it to him, and then Mark would go on to confirm it to Smokey. So that's basically why her statement and this interaction can make sense at the same time. It's confusing, I know. Stating that he received a letter from
Confused why you're making this video.
Veronica, in which he said how sorry she was, that it was a result of a drinking problem, and that he was the best thing to have ever happened to her.
Okay, well, maybe it was. Okay.
However, Mark doesn't seem to be fazed by the letter and actively brushes it off, stating that she's the cheating type, having done the same to Chris, aka Oni, and another person she dated named Nathan.
Oh, wow, that's actually, this kid's like way too mature for his age. He's 20, this Alice Mark guys. Dude, she's the cheating type. She cheat on Nathan, cheat on Chris. I mean, listen, not for nothing, but if you're dating somebody that like, you know, has cheated before, that is the red flag, okay? Either way. Okay.
And beyond that, after Smokey voices the concern that, having seen this occur, she may have never really known who Veronica was to begin with, Mark agrees, stating, yeah, I felt the same way of not knowing what was real and what wasn't. Which you'd think would be the point where he stopped interacting with her entirely, at least for a while, but no. According to him, though he wasn't too specific, he said that after this event, she and him spent time apart, hung out as friends, then got back together, constantly mentioning how she was, quote, getting better, despite us never directly asking about it. But looking at Twitter as a source of how true that statement might be, they shared an image.
Could be a cope. Maybe she's not getting better. Maybe she's still cheating. Maybe this is none of our business.
together only 3 weeks after the DM, having interviewed the voice of Hugh Neutron Mark DiCarlo. Then 3 days after that, they interviewed Jeff Kinney, and Mark clarified that they flew all the way to Boston, Massachusetts to do it. Could have easily had a call of some kind, but hey, why not go to the effort for someone who cheated on you a month prior? He then flew back and stayed in LA until around April 1st, when he came back to his home country to watch Sonic 2 early. But you want to guess who he had as a travel companion? Yep, Veronica went to
The girl he's dating? Wow, what a wow, I'm so shocked.
Ireland with
Really exposing the deep state here.
Mark for over a month and a half, and this is backed up by the series of tweets the two made during that period. April 8th, she acknowledges she saw Sonic 2 for the second time, the first time being with Mark on April 1st. April 14th, she mentions that she misses her dogs from being in Ireland. April 30th, she says she got COVID and has to stay in Ireland longer. May 14th, she says she's back with her dogs in America. They spent a month and a half together in Mark's home country after having hung out and done interviews for over a week, only 3 weeks after the DM where Mark said he didn't know who she was as a person or trust her. But it does confer with my previous theory, that no matter what Veronica does, she either finds a way to pull Mark back in quickly, even after he seemingly already made up his mind, or Mark has now gotten such a dependent attachment to her, he can't go for long periods without being together, as can be
Maybe, and none of those are our business, even if your speculation is correct. Or maybe he's a young kid that's dating a girl that's immature because she's dating a young guy, and I do think that's immature regardless, but it doesn't matter, but like that's their decision. And maybe he's too trusting. Maybe he's just, maybe that's none of our business. Maybe that's really what it comes down to. Maybe that's the greatest thing of it all. It's none of our business. Maybe you shouldn't have made this video. It's just super. It's actually very concerning that you're going to. It's like so deep into this.
shown not only by all this traveling the two did together, but how much is still yet to come. A month after Veronica returned to LA on June 18th, Mark was back in California with a group of friends, including her. And fun fact, the week after he got there, I actually met up with him briefly at VidCon, which was where I first came into contact with She Who Must Not Be Named. Though that's a story and aftermath for another time. I don't want to make this about me. And in comparison,
They're probably never going to talk about it, huh?
to everything else, it would sound pretty stupid, so yeah. But anyway, July 12th, they travel somewhere for her birthday and stay at a hotel for over a week, back to LA. Then in mid-August, they go to Washington, D.C. with Sunny for another week, and this is around the time they got married, so possibly a honeymoon thing, I don't know. According to Mark, they haven't had a formal
Oh, you really exposed that. And they might have been on their honeymoon. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
ceremony yet, so it could have happened right after or before, but whatever. Following this, on the 21st of August, they show they're in an airport in Dallas on a connecting flight back to California, and presumably that's where they currently reside to this day. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, that's a lot of traveling, and a lot of money spent on someone who, not too long ago, in the same year, cheated on Mark and didn't have the decency to tell him face-to-face rather than using a letter. So him
Who cares? Oh my god, you're so obsessed.
having this quick of a 180, as mentioned, is kind of scary, and to me, either seems manipulative on Veronica's part or desperate on Mark's. They barely had the time to be apart from one another for 3 weeks before she reinserted herself deeply into his life, if he didn't bring her back on his own. And then for the next 5 to 6 months, they were constantly traveling from place to place, only having a reprieve from each other from May 14th to June 18th or so. Plus, we've got to take into account that Mark was also working on his pilot, his main channel,
We don't actually have to take any of this into account, just so you know.
second channel, and his podcast with Veronica. So mix that all together alongside him traveling with her so often, it's like he never had a moment to think about their relationship and the negatives of what she did before moving on. And reminder here, whilst this series of traveling escapades was still occurring, they got married.
Okay. Wow.
Man, saying that out loud still doesn't feel right. I'm
I like that he paused for it because he wanted us to be like, what? They're what? Like, he really wanted us to feel like the impact of that one. Like, they're married? Like, dude, get over it yourself.
I mean, like, what?
They got married only 8 or so months after they broke up and got back together, 5 or so months after he was cheated on and stated he didn't know who she was, amidst a myriad of trips across the country/world, in between a series of incredibly lengthy videos that Mark had to put his attention towards. And they didn't even wait, they just got married without a formal ceremony they're still currently planning to happen? What's the rush? And more importantly, who in their right mind would consider that a good idea? It's got "don't do this" written all over it. But also at the same time, it's equally peculiar. Why would the two hide their relationship to begin with? It's not like they're subtle about how often they hang out together, yet they never mention
I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with, like, really obsessive people like yourself, like, over speculating on a private relationship. And so they don't want to, like, give out this information because they don't want people like you that are over speculative to make videos about it. Wow. And that's probably why.
Their relationship status
anywhere. And in a recent tweet, Veronica states that among her accomplishments this year, she moved out and up with somebody I love instead of explicitly mentioning Mark. Why would she feel the need to omit his name? She doesn't even
Because they probably made an agreement to omit the names together and said they probably both got together and said, let's keep this relationship private. That's it. It's so not deep. It's like, it's the least level of like it literally, a toddler would have been able to figure out that and like answer that question. That's what it was. Usually, I know this is a hot take. This is something that's really difficult to understand. When two people decide to keep things private, both of them stay private. I know that's a mind blower. I know that probably blew your mind on that. But I mean, guys,
It is the truth. It's usually the truth, okay? It's crazy stuff, okay? That's how it works, okay?
Need to say that they're married or dating to give out this information just that they've moved in together. Not that it's weird or super personally revealing to be upfront that they're married to begin with. Shouldn't that be something you're happy to announce to the world, that you're so in love with someone you've decided to make the next big step and have gone...
I mean, it's from what you're saying. It sounds like every one of his friends is condemning the relationship. They're all like, "Oh, this is bad. Don't do this." So, like, of course he's going to be private about it. Like, of course, if all your friends are saying, and you know what? Again, maybe you guys are right, but that stays private. You can talk to your friend privately, not publicly. He made a decision, though. He is an adult. He's a grown man. Well, he's not grown, but he's an adult. He can make his own decisions. And if it doesn't work out, then you know what? That's life experience for you. That's all it is.
forward with a matrimonial commitment? Though I guess it would be weird to marry someone who has to get you your alcohol for you since you're legally not old enough to buy it yourself in their home country.
Oh, she's a predator. That's what we were trying to say here. Who cares if he's drinking? Who cares? If she's literally giving him alcohol, I still don't care. Okay, like you shouldn't be having any alcohol under 21, guys. But if you're over 18, I frankly just don't give a shit because you're still like an adult. Okay, all right, I don't care.
Aside, hearing that this might be the case was the final nail in the coffin and make me investigate. Seeing as, with all the other information I've just said, them being married would make no sense, at least on the basis that you want to get married to someone you're in a happy, uncompromised, long-lasting relationship with. And if they were married, it would make even less sense that they'd choose to hide it for no particular reason when they're so closely related to each other publicly. So I started asking around to those who might have more information on the story, and I accrued a vast array of testimony plus evidence from a long list of people previously involved in Mark and Veronica's past that, well...
You know what's interesting, though? That, like, okay, if somebody ever reached out to me with some kind of thing like this, I would say, why are you so worried about what's going on here? I'd say, you don't need to weigh in on this. It's inappropriate. That's what I would say. And I feel like there's, like, plenty of people who would probably say the same thing. So it leads me to believe that either one, he's omitting it, which is possible, or nobody in this circle was like, you shouldn't do this. It's actually a really big boundary crosser and could potentially devastate your relationship with him. He still did it. So it just sounds to me like all these people probably almost egged him on to make this video. Honestly. They're probably like, yeah, make it. They didn't really want to sign their names onto it, but yeah, make it, you know?
Seemingly small when viewed separately, came together to reveal a ton of patterns. One of those being that Veronica has a weird relationship with the people she considers friends, often stepping on or shit-talking them when she sees fit to make herself look better, often bringing down Mark's relationship with them in the process. Circling back to Smokey's post, it seems that whatever happened between her and Veronica, the latter wanted to apologize and move forward. However, according to Smokey, it had turned out that Veronica was still shit-talking her to other people, giving mixed messages regarding their supposed friendship. And I wouldn't doubt this is the case, as when I spoke to a more neutral party / current friend of Veronica who I showed the post to and knew nothing about this, they told me that Veronica called her a stalker who wasn't to be trusted, despite the fact that in reality, they were close friends for around half a year, as is backed up through social media. And aside from Smokey herself, she also states that she's...
What?
In reality, they were close friends for around half a year, as...
They were close friends for half a year? Personally, I'm not close friends with anybody I've known for half a year, and I don't think that's a hot take. You don't become close friends with somebody in a half a year. Like, relax, okay? They probably aren't close friends. This person probably is like a weird stalker. Maybe not a stalker, but they're definitely way too fucking nosy.
As is backed up through social media. And aside from Smokey herself, she also states that she's heard the testimonial of several other people who've been affected by Veronica in the same way. And while they might not be willing to speak up for whatever reason, which I can totally understand, there is proof to show that she partakes in this behavior, which I can demonstrate. First, looking to Daft Pina for a situation, here's a DM conversation where, when confronted about shit-talking Daft behind his back, she admits to it backhandedly, but rather than apologizing, tries to deflect the blame by shifting to discussing another friend of his, Beta's Inferno, who apparently shit-talked him before the two knew each other. Hey, Editing Braxton here again for some more clarity. In the screenshot of Veronica talking to Daft, she mentions they had a politically fueled conversation that was inappropriate and unprofessional, which she most likely said because Daft deleted their Discord messages, so he couldn't back it up if she just said shit. But he actually archived them before doing that, including the conversation, so if you want to look at it, there's a link in the description. But really, it's just an average political convo. However, in it, Veronica never says anything he mentioned was bad or out of line, despite having ample opportunity to over their regular chat. So I guess we can add gaslighting to her list. Also, she doesn't explicitly
gaslighting. Oh my god. You guys are insane.
Mentioned Beta in the screenshot, but it was implied to both of them, and Mark is going to bring her up specifically to say the exact same thing later on, so yeah, that's how I accidentally mixed that up. So just be aware that...
I'm so happy that, like, I didn't have social media when I was a kid, because holy fuck, this is so embarrassing for you. This is actually this is really embarrassing for you, what you're doing right now.
Even if she considers you a friend, she may shit-talk you.
And if you decide to shit-talk someone else alongside her, she might throw you under the bus to avoid blame for her own actions. But don't go thinking that stops at friendships. There are plenty of moments where she'll publicly shit-talk her past relationships to her Twitch audience, saying they suck, including Oni, who, reminder here, Mark confirmed she cheated on. And that means that if Mark and Veronica ever break up, she'll almost definitely shit-talk him the same way she supposedly did in private to the...
Maybe, again, who cares? Like, this is none of your business. Who cares if it's even true? Oh, the red flags. He can figure out the red flags himself.
You'll be okay. Like, you don't have to, play detective over here, okay?
Unnamed creator. But anyway, with all this information, testimony, evidence, and so on to sort through, I knew I had to do something with it. So, seeing as I felt this needed to be created for multiple reasons, whether he listened to me or not, I decided to try confronting Mark himself about all of this in the hopes he might listen, though I wasn't too optimistic he would, knowing what I've explained already and how he's shut people out. But I couldn't just go in half-cocked without a plan. That wouldn't work at all. Plus, I'm admittedly a bit timid when it comes to head-to-head confrontations. I haven't been in commentary for a long-ass time, and I plan to not stay in it after this video is out, so I decided to call on Daft and Crowy, who've had previous instances.
Is he saying that he was going to quit commentary or he was going to quit YouTube? Okay, I don't know.
Is attempting to talk to Mark about these issues,
And created a list of questions I wanted to ask, seeing how he responded to check if he would be truthful with us, and as I've mentioned already, in some cases, he was not. But that's
if somebody who like I barely knew reached out to me and tried to talk to me about some kind of a relationship issue I was having with my wife, I would actually never talk to you again. Thank you so much for the 2 months, Z King. This is the most online thing I've ever seen in a while. Dude, it is the most online thing that I've seen in a long time as well.
where all the times when I say Mark is confirmed come from, because it was affirmed to us in the call, one which I brought Mark into under the guise of helping me with my Hell of a Boss video. This was done for the reason that, in the case where someone's in a
So you asked this guy to help you on a video, probably for free, and he said yes, out of the kindness of his heart, he was going to help you with your video. And you chose to ambush him. And that's what it is. I'm calling it what it is. This is an ambush. Okay? You decided to ambush this guy. That's what you're telling me. What? Bro, you are so very terminally online. That's crazy. Oh my god. He's probably so mad at you. And he's probably gonna forgive you. But don't forgive this guy.
Potentially
You
abusive
can forgive him, but I wouldn't associate myself with him.
relationship, straight up saying,
I think you're in an emotionally manipulative relationship with a toxic person. Let's talk about it.
it's probably going to scare the person off immediately. So I didn't want to take the chance and instead chose to put Mark in a headspace where he'd come in alone and calmly, though that wouldn't be the same for long. We started the call by stating that it wasn't about Hell of a Boss, but instead we were performing.
Are you saying that you manipulated him into feeling comfortable in the situation? Holy fuck, dude. You just gaslighted him.
a recorded checkup on how he's doing.
To which Mark said he was uncomfortable with us doing so, clearly paranoid about the whole aspect, and so we complied, taking detailed notes instead. The call went on for over an hour, and much of it covers what's already been stated though, so instead of going in chronological order, as there'd be a ton of repetition, I'll group it by sections I believe are important and leave it at that. Starting with what was asked about the marriage.
Well, then there shouldn't be any sections.
We initially acted oblivious to whether or not it was the case, and asked Mark straight up if he was, to which he responded by saying, "Why do I need to tell you?" Openly pissed off and wanting to avoid the subject. Then later on we told him
Yeah, so you've identified that. So you're smart enough to identify that it's something he doesn't want to talk about, and what do? You press him harder on it. Incredible. You guys are so smart. But like I said, people around him were like open to this idea. They probably thought, who's this other guy? They probably thought that this was like so good. They were like, yes, like this is so good. We're doing such a good thing. The internet has ruined you guys, like for real. It's embarrassing. It is so embarrassing for a lot of people. This is incredible, It's just incredible to me. It's crazy.
we already knew, to which he replied, "Well then why would you ask the question?" Obviously not keying into the fact that we asked him to see if he would lie about it. And near the end of the call, as the tension was winding down, Mark told Daft in particular that he would have said they were married if he was asked, basically attempting to gaslight us as though the last few interactions didn't happen at all. And this is something that will continue to occur occasionally as the call goes on, such as further down in the discussion of the relationship, where we ask why he decided to get back with Veronica so soon after the cheating, which he confirmed once again to us along with the split. But because he thought we didn't have definitive dates at the time, he lied and tried to claim that the split lasted for shorter than it did, about 2 to 3 weeks.
Who cares? It's okay that he's lying about this because it's none of your fucking business. Like, you don't need to know the specifics of their relationship. You guys are crazy.
When it came to the cheating aftermath, he
Descriptively said that they spent time apart, hung out again as friends, then decided to date again when he saw she was improving. But reminder here, according to their Twitter timeline, that period apart was, at most, 3 weeks. And right after they went on a several-month adventure to various locations, including to Mark's home country, so it most likely was not an adequate enough time at all to reevaluate the relationship. And it was probably
You just don't know that. Like, you're a literal child. You don't know shit about dick. Okay, again, who cares about the speculation? Like, that's where we're at. Like, you're doing too much. That's what's happening here. You're doing way too much. Like, who cares? It's honestly, it's just so terminally online. It's nuts, man.
Think about this for the sake of making it seem like he put thought into the decision when the timeline goes against it. Speaking of which, we got conflicting dates for when they first met and began dating, so we asked, to which he claimed that they originally met in late 2020, and they've been dating for around a year. Though that's not technically true with how much they've broken up and gotten back together. This means that not too deeply into their relationship, 3 to 4 months at the very most, she left him for the creator. Then 2 months later, she cheated on him. Then 5 months after that, not even having a full year under their belt, they married. But of course, that's a ridiculously short time frame considering how much had occurred between it, so prior to the call, I theorized it may have been for the sake of a green card or work visa, as that would make some modicum of sense. So we asked Mark if that was the case, but no. It wasn't. According to him, he was already getting the work visa and green card sorted out through lawyers separately, and that this was entirely for the reason that he loved her. And when asked why he married so early on in their relationship, he said he always envisioned himself marrying early.
Okay.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Mark, I can understand seeing yourself.
So you just shut the fuck up. You just don't respond to it because it's not your business. This is so weird. Oh my God. This is crazy to me, dude. This is actually nuts. This is actually nuts to me. This is fucking crazy. Oh my God.
Getting married to someone at a young age.
But usually people spend more than about a year together before getting married. Hell, most wait 2 to 5, a time frame that should most likely reset whenever there's fucking cheating or breaking up involved. That shows the relationship has room to falter.
Not to mention, Veronica didn't actually tell Mark about the fact that she cheated until over a week after it happened when someone else pointed it out to him as a possibility. So who's to say it might not happen again and she just won't tell him this time?
There's
True. It's none of your business. I mean, like, it doesn't matter if you're right. This person needs to understand. I wonder if they're racking their brains like, guys, but I'm so correct. He might be spot on everything he's saying. But it doesn't matter because this is none of your business. Like, you need to grow up and stop with this terminally online shit. It's a problem, okay?
no reason to have done it so early, especially if it wasn't necessary for him to get a green card or work visa. But back to the call, I was upfront about having talked with Smokey about her post, and in return, Mark said, Smokey is literally crazy, literally 100% deranged. However, when we asked for specifics, Mark wouldn't give us any, saying he didn't have to. But Smokey had already publicly stated her distaste for Veronica and expressed information he apparently doesn't want out there, so if she's so crazy and deranged, not to mention someone he said to have seen every day for several months, why would he hold back any of the crazy experiences he's had with her and warn us about how much of a snake she is? Does Smokey have some kind of dirt on Mark that nobody knows about? Most likely not, considering she was very forthcoming with me about information, and when asked after the call, she told me she had almost nothing but nice things to say about the guy, mainly having issues with Veronica rather than him. So where does this reluctance to say anything come from? Could it be just maybe that he's only been told that Smokey is such a dubious person by Veronica, who has a history of acting underhanded, lying about people when it suits her, and
Maybe he just doesn't feel the need to talk about everything that he's talked about privately, publicly to other people. You ever think that's... You ever think about that? No? Oh, okay.
I seemingly badmouth Smokey to others before.
or potentially he's playing into the idea that Smokey is crazy because his wife has a grudge with her and he knows the information she has, so he calls her crazy to dissuade others from talking with her. It's just a theory, but I think it's a pretty good one. And aside from her, when we brought up the testimony and evidence of another person more recently associated with the group Beta's Inferno, Mark interestingly used the exact same method as Veronica, deflecting it to say that Beta shit-talked Daft beforehand, showing that he's adapted some of the same tactics to divert attention away from Veronica. Though again, he wasn't specific about what the insults were, and when we reflected it back onto him by asking if he knew about the shit-talking Veronica had supposedly done when they were broken up, he said he didn't want to hear it. Possibly because he has an idealized version of her in his head and doesn't want it to be broken by hearing about some of the shit she may have done while they were apart.
Or
Now,
maybe it's none of your business and he doesn't want to talk about it publicly because it's none of your business. Like, it's really not that deep, bro. He might know all the red flags about her, which actually kind of seems like he does. Maybe. Okay. And he's like, well, you know, what's interesting about this? It's none of your business. This is crazy. Oh my God. What are the comments saying? This is a re-upload, so I'll look this. So
I'm not entirely sure why, but one might feel the need to ask, why does it matter if he gives examples? Maybe he just can't remember. But aside from that being a flimsy argument that wouldn't make sense with how close these people were to Mark as friends, if you're going to call someone, quote, literally crazy, literally 100% deranged, you should be able to say how. Otherwise, there's no reason to believe you. Like, for instance, let's use another friend of Mark's that's heavily associated with Veronica as an example for how to do this kind of thing properly. Sunny TM. Told you I was going to bring this back up later. But for those who haven't been paying attention, he was another creator I mentioned back at the beginning of this video, as someone Crowy and Daft were concerned might be negative for Mark to be associated with. Though back then, their concerns only went as far as Sunny leaking Daft's personal script for a project he was working on, but that's barely scratching the surface compared to what I know now. And so in the call, we wanted to make it clear to Mark that he'd done some reprehensible things in and out of video, all while clearly associating with and even mentioning Mark by name as a good friend. This includes his most recent video against Daft, where he brings up a situation with another content creator I also interviewed, Dubus Goobus, as a way of discrediting Daft because he has a plush of Dubus in the back of his set. In the section, he tries to paint Daft as a hypocrite by quasi-associating himself with Dubus by saying that when he was in Sunny's server, he randomly started saying in VC how he hated trans people unprovoked and then made a corporate apology by donating $100 to a trans organization to cover it, later stating how good of a person he was because he's an egotistical maniac. But that's not what happened, as can be seen by the recording of
what's happening? Okay. What is happening? There's so much going on in here. I mean, this just feels like, are we supposed to know who all these characters are? This is like the fucking... I feel like I feel like I'm watching like an Avengers movie, like, but I haven't watched anything but Iron Man. This is nuts. Like, who the fuck are these people? Why do they actually matter? What is this example supposed to cater to? Oh, probably dumb kids. This is nuts.
the call that he has archived. Hey, Editing Braxton here for hopefully the last time. The archive video of Sonny's call with Dubis has now been unlisted, which was most likely the result of Mark telling Sonny about the call and him realizing how bad it made him look. It'll probably be gone after this video uploads though, so in case you want to hear it, I'll have it in the same drive link below. Also, further doesn't look good on Mark's part and shows what he's willing to excuse, which will be brought up more later. I checked the video out myself, and it starts with Dubis acting incredibly flustered and apologetic, specifically mentioning that a remark he made was transphobic and that he was incredibly sorry.
That was wrong. I should. You want to fucking restart?
Why get mad at me,
what
bro?
I meant to say was someone who used to listen. I was thinking of those Tumblr type people. That was wrong. I should. You want to fucking restart? I'll just admit I said it and say I'm sorry. Is that better?
To which Sonny in the Discord then proceeded to laugh and claim an apology wasn't enough, and it'd only mean anything if he donated to charity and said so on his Twitter, which he then did.
I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Admit to your fault and stop saying
And it's my fault. I said, listen, what I said was transphobic, and I don't, and it was wrong to say, and upon reflection, I am sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't do it again.
I said something that's transphobic, and I am very sorry. I legitimately mean it. If you want me to prove it somehow, I'm willing to try. I'm sorry.
I want you to
Why is this in the video?
donate $100 to a trans organization.
You fucking madman. You actually broke him. Oh my god.
Yes.
This is what he is 30 years later. That's what he looks like.
was an emotional
30 years later.
Doesn't exactly give off the same vibe that Sonny was describing in his video, does it? Hell, it doesn't even have the supposedly transphobic remarks. So I went ahead and asked Dubis himself about the situation, and according to him, he told me that while they were talking in VC, he mentioned offhandedly he was annoyed by always seeing a specific brand of trans people on his Twitter feed that he saw as annoying, clearly not understanding how—
Okay. I mean, was that the transphobia? Because there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter what's on there. There is a specific brand of everything that is annoying on Twitter. Trans people, white people, everybody, okay? That is Twitter. It's just called Twitter, okay? Now, if he said that he thinks all trans people are annoying because of like the nth of a percent of trans people who may represent them potentially poorly, that's different. Like, that's an issue, I suppose. Well, it is, because you don't want to generalize. But if that's not the case, who cares?
how it could be perceived. Immediately after, though, he realized his mistake and tried to correct it, but Sonny was not listening. He instead, supposedly in the moment, made the situation sound as if it was way worse than it actually was, and called the whole Discord in to come and berate him, supposedly telling him to kill himself. Then when he was panicking about accidentally saying something that could be thought of as transphobic, basically suffering a mental breakdown, Sonny in the Discord bullied him into donating the money, gloating about what they'd done after the fact. And this is all with the context that in his most recent video, where he early on says Mark is a good friend of his, he tries to say that Dubis giving the money was just a half-hearted attempt to look noble, rather than the result of Sonny and his Discord mentally breaking Dubis to the point he'd do anything to rectify it, as is shown in the recording. And this has severely affected Dubis, who now has a difficult time making friends or really going out of his current circle out of the fear that something like this might happen again. It's so messed up. And we thought Mark would
go offline. Shut up. This is so stupid. Is this just like is it like half of this video is just a defense of, I guess, his friend that said something kind of like ignorant trans people? Okay.
I know about this because beyond Sonny being a person he heavily associates
I
with.
wonder what the guy actually said, because it sounds like he's underplaying it, but whatever.
So this could be a good deterrent from
continuing that relationship. Mark was also interacting with Dubis recently on Twitter, so this incident could close off a potential relationship he may have wanted to make, all because Sonny wanted to use Mark's name in the same video to say that they were good friends. And we told Mark this exact thing happened, but all he had to say to it was that he never knew, having been told a different story by Sonny. However, he never condemns the action. And not only that, but Sonny was also doing weird shit with another creator, That Creepy Reading, who he sent an unprovoked shirtless picture to saying, "I'm coming for you," and was subsequently blocked for. Though once again,
Okay, it sounds like he thought that was a joke, an unprovoked shirtless picture. It was a picture of his head when he was not wearing a shirt. But you're trying to make it seem like he was sexually fucking harassing that person when he was just making a really weird, cringy, creepy joke. It's not even that creepy. It's just bizarre. It's just like a weird. It's like annoying. That's what it would be if I got something like that.
Mark didn't have much of a reaction to the news and treated it like just another thing Sonny does. However, it ended up having long-lasting impacts, as after the fact, while Mark was working on his South Park video, he asked TCR to cameo, and while he said yes initially, he later backed out, saying he couldn't be a part of Mark's content if he was going to associate himself with Sonny. And as of recording, Mark is still yet to reply to TCR. So that's one more bridge to add to those that Mark has burned by associating himself with Sonny and Veronica. And that's not even taking into account that Sonny doesn't seem to care about Mark's opinion, as he expressed in the call that he has lots of grievances with Sonny and the way he makes videos, yet he never listens and goes ahead anyway. So in summary, we have a guy that gloats about being blocked after acting creepy to total strangers, has completely wrecked the mental health of someone and tried to smear them as transphobic despite it all, ignores Mark's grievances, doesn't listen, and lies to him, yet also likes to claim publicly that they're good friends, and drives people he was previously friends with away from him. So why does Mark put up with him again? Is it because he is friends with Veronica? I mean, Sonny's incredibly close with her, closer than he is with Mark even. Might he potentially put up with Sonny's shit for the sake of staying in Veronica's good graces, suppressing his qualms? Or has he become—
Maybe. And if that's true, that is normal. It is a normal thing to That's normal. Like, that's just like a normal relationship thing, to like people or dislike people based on your spouse. It's kind of just normal. I don't know what to tell you. It's not perfect, I guess, but like, okay, you know, that's like, it's like the popular meme. It's like, you say to your wife, like, who do we hate today? And my wife's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a fucking part of life. I don't know. Okay, crazy.
Desensitized to it and no longer sees what's so bad about all this. It's very possible. Unfortunately, on my end, I never got to ask. However, I'm not sure what kind of good explanation he could come up with for sticking around beyond, oh, he's nice to me. Too bad for all the people he's fucked over on a psychological level. And that video happened recently, within the last month. It's shit he's still doing. Though if you want to talk about something from the past, as a side note, it's also been said by several people, including moderators, that the reason the Only Place Discord server was deleted was due to him publicly leaking a woman's nudes. But that basically sums up everything important that was stated in the call. And with it, we've reached the present. It's been a month since that call as of the writing of the script, and most likely by now, Mark probably doesn't think anything is going to happen, or at the least he doesn't realize that I'm the one who set this all up and made the video. I mean, I explicitly told him as much in the call, but I know he didn't believe me because Daft was there, asking him explicitly if he was going to make a video, and in all honesty, I find that a bit insulting. Is it really so hard to believe that this isn't a scheme by Daft who I just co-opted specifically for that call, but instead a worried gesture from tons of friends that think something is wrong? I know that at the end of the call you—
Well, I know it's terminally online. You guys have no real right to like bring this up to him, but you know, that's something you probably don't understand.
Told us that you were currently happier than you've ever been.
But though it might sound like I'm overstepping boundaries by saying as much, I don't think that's the case. Because as I've outlined in the script, you have pushed away all the people who have tried to point out the truth. You are currently married to someone who, in under a year of dating, you've had leave and come back to you as if
it doesn't seem like anybody's trying to help him find the truth. It sounds like you guys are bombarding him until he believes you. Like, that's not the same thing. What are you talking about?
Was nothing, cheated on you, which made you question who she even is, and seemingly expected, knowing she's the cheating type, your words not mine, made you feel the need to come back to her without having ample time to think about why you were reluctant to come back in the first place on multiple occasions, alienated you from people you used to be closely associated with, and more. Plus, she's also a liar, a rumor spreader and slanderer, including to ex-partners she's cheated on, is close friends with people like Sunny, who's done some horrendous shit and obviously doesn't value your opinion or thoughts, yet you don't question, possibly because of their association, and despite how happy you supposedly are, you don't want to mention that your relationship exists to pretty much anyone outside of your close friend group. You told us that if we asked, you'd tell, but initially when we did, you got antsy and pissed and completely avoided the question. It wasn't until we said we had proof of it that you finally admitted as much, and if you were comfortable lying to us about that, there's no telling how much else you'd be willing to do. So why are you hiding everything? It'd be one thing if you weren't constantly shoving your marriage in everyone's faces, just letting it be something that was known, but you guys don't mention it anywhere. In fact, you go out of your way to hide it. But you also tweet about how often you're traveling and hanging out together, she does thumbnail art for your videos, you run a whole ass podcast with her, and it's blatantly obvious to a ton of people that you are dating. So why not have the courage to mention you're married or even together? Why go ahead with this marriage before the ceremony when there's no rush for that kind of thing if it's truly based entirely on love? If you're asking me, it goes far beyond just privacy. I think, Mark, that you know how many holes and warning signs this relationship has had from the beginning, so you got married hoping that would solve the blatant issues. But if you announced it to the world, some of your audience might come to the same conclusion and ask—
Bro, this guy gives me energy of the person who's never been in a relationship but thinks he gives good relationship advice. It's like, they think that they do, but they don't really know what the fuck they're on about. That's what this reads as 100%. Holy fuck.
Why? Just like I, Daft, and Crowy did.
And you feel uncomfortable confronting that reality. It's why you've pushed all these people away and lied. You go along with Veronica and adopt her patterns to shut out those that might say the truth you're too deeply invested in to confront. You let them just slip through your hands and go away. But with this video, everyone knows. Some of us tried talking to you about this in private when shit was seemingly more manageable and you said it was fine, but god damn it, the longer this has gone unaddressed, the worse it's gotten, so no more holding back. The cat's out of the bag and it isn't going back in. But I'm not mad at you, Mark. It isn't wholly your fault by any means. This is for Veronica and Sunny. Not you. And now that it's all been said and done, the one question left to be answered is this. What is it that I and all the other people who have spoken out, been interviewed, or generally helped in the production of this video want by revealing everything here? Well, beyond shedding a light on what both Veronica—
Probably want to be annoying. You guys need to grow up, like, for real. That's actually fucking embarrassing for you. So...
and Sunny have done to Mark, as well as several other people, for completely inexcusable reasons. Aside from showing what incredibly toxic behavior looks like in a relationship for those that might need to hear it, mostly we just want Mark to reflect and reevaluate his current situation. Take some time to himself to really figure out if this was the right path for him to walk for so long unquestioningly. And if he comes to think it wasn't the right choice, and he is indeed in a toxic relationship that pushes others away and sinks him into excusing terrible behavior, get away from them so he can think of what to do next. Because that was the original—
You do realize that you are the toxic behavior, right? Like you're the toxic relationship right now. You are the toxic behavior. You're the person that needs to be avoided, like, at all fucking costs, for real. No, all jokes aside. It's holy fuck, this is so terminally online, man.
Motivation behind this video, to call out to Mark and ask him to not only be straight up with us, but with himself. I've been just stopped. You've been informed. Peace out.
Wow, he really thought he did something. Wow, incredible. I think that's the saddest part of that whole thing, is that this guy thinks that he, like, actually did something. Like, he's proud of himself for that. Like, he thinks that he really stood up for what he perceives as right. And like, that's the saddest part of this whole thing. And we have that was miserable. What is wrong with you? Oh my God, how embarrassing. Jesus Christ. Oh, there's that video.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.